now it's time for another Board Game Brawl Top 10 with Nick Meanahan, sponsored by BoardGameBliss.com. Hey there peeps, my name is Nick, this is Board Game Brawl, and it's time to take a look at my top 10 anticipated games for 2016. These are the games or expansions, I went ahead and threw those into the mix, that I am most looking forward to in the new year. And I'm very hopeful. There was a lot of good choices, or potentially good choices, for this list. A lot of things that I had to cut out because I only wanted to keep it down to 10, but still, I probably could have done a top 20, maybe even a top 30 of games, and I'm like, wow, I really hope that that's good, and I'm looking forward to that. Some of them are Kickstarters, some of them are not. That's just how it goes at this point. I think there's probably more that I'm looking forward to for 2016 than I was for 2015, but we're certainly going to look at last year's list as well that I did to see how those things fell, if I played them, did I like them, so on and so forth. So I'm not going to bog it down too much further. Let's go ahead and take a look at my top 10 games that I'm anticipating for 2016. My number 10 is Super Dungeon Explorer Legends, and I'll go ahead and throw Super Dungeon Explorer, the new edition of the previous first edition of the game, the first Super Dungeon Explorer set. They kickstarted both Legends and a new edition of that base game as well. So I'm excited about the whole package, really, but especially Legends, because Legends is going to add a campaign-style format to Super Dungeon Explorer, and honestly, I think that's what the game needs desperately. I really love Super Dungeon Explorer, but it is more enticing for people to have something to latch onto, a story to play through, experience to gain, items to get over time, and so on. It's why whenever I would give people the options, like which of these sort of dungeon crawling games you want to play, people would always go for Descent or Imperial Assault, because there's just something more there, despite how good Super Dungeon Explorer is. So really looking forward to this one and seeing what they can do with it. I don't even know too much about it, but I'm still anticipating it. So that is my number 10, Super Dungeon Explorer Legends, and the new edition of the base game. My number 9 is Arcadia Quest Inferno. Now, I really love Arcadia Quest, and I've grown to love it even more as time has gone on. In this new standalone game of Arcadia Quest, which can, of course, be integrated back into this with the stuff from the first Arcadia Quest, this one has me even more excited. I think the miniatures look better, the scenarios seem more interesting. You have these angel characters that have a really interesting mechanism where you can try to save them, which could make them powerful allies for you, or you can just ignore them or kill them, and then they're going to come back as demons later on. And then as part of the campaign for this, there's a bunch of little expansions. There's dragons that you can integrate into the game now, and I'm just lumping all of this together. And also there was the pets, which of course was a blatant ripoff of the pets from Super Dungeon Explorer. They even look the same, but I'm still excited for them. What can I say? They still look great. So I'm really excited to see everything that comes with Inferno, because like I've always said, I would love having more content for a game I already love over and above a brand new game any day of the week. So that is number 9, Arcadia Quest Inferno from Cool Mini or Not. My number 8 was actually on last year's list. The thing about last year's list, or I should say, that's the thing, is it was technically this year's list. I did it back in like March. I should have done it earlier, closer to the year, but that's when I thought about it. And I think that Apocrypha from Lone Shark Games had just been Kickstarted, very, very close to that. And that should be coming in the first quarter of 2016, I believe. But whenever it comes, I'm used to waiting for Kickstarters as Kingdom Death. I'm not really bothered by it too much. Apocrypha is sort of a follow-up adventure card game from Pathfinder Adventure Card Game, which was from the same designer, Mike Selinker, and his team. And this just looks great. First off, the theme really appeals to me. It looks like the World of Darkness, more akin to the original World of Darkness because of the apocalyptic overtones of it. But there's a lot of interesting elements there. You're still taking control of characters, so you can level up with card play and building up your deck. But there's like this whole other like set of like cards that you like fractured memories and things. To be honest, I kind of lost track of all the new stuff that was getting pumped into the game as the campaign went on. But here's what I know. It looks great. I love the theme. It seems really interesting. And I love the format of adventure card games. And I'm hoping that this one adds a bit more theme and storyline for me to attach myself to that Pathfinder Adventure Card Game just didn't have. Pathfinder felt very abstract at times, as much as I really enjoy it and still have the games in my collection somewhere behind me. But Apocrypha from Lone Shark Games, really looking forward to that one. My number 7 I'm going to have as a catch-all category, and it's all of the expansions for Time stories. I think there should be 3 of them coming out in each third of the year, something like that. 3 or 4 expansions, hopefully. Of course, things in board gaming can always change, but I'm anticipating we'll get at least 2, probably 3. And look, Time Stories, amazing game. It was one of my top 10 games of the year. It will end up being, and it was on because of the timing, ended up on my top 100 list very highly as well. And it is the type of game where you need the expansions. That is the content for the game once you've gone through the mission that's in the base box. But I'm okay with that. I have sold my soul to the devil for that one. I am totally on board with just getting more and more and more content that can't ever be reused by you in your particular gaming group, at least. But that is amazing. That's an amazing experience. I just can't wait. The next one is Prophecy of Dragons, which is going to be fantasy themed. I'm actually slightly worried about that because I think that the combat mechanisms of Time Stories are sort of its weakest element. The puzzle and sort of deduction elements of it are the best parts of it. I hope that this one doesn't get bogged down too much into just dice chucking, because that's not the game's strong suit. But I still want to see what they do with that theme, and I can't wait to see the rest of the stuff. I think the next one after that is Ancient Egypt, which could also be potentially very cool, especially with like going down through a pyramid and raiding like a tomb or something like that. That might be very, very cool. So really looking forward to all the expansions for Time Stories from Space Cowboys. My number 6 is another Cool Mini or Not game. This one is called The Others 7 Sins. This was a huge game on Kickstarter, and for good reason. It looks amazing. It's probably got the darkest looking theme of any of the games that Cool Mini or Not has put out to this point. And it's about just you. It's one versus all. One player controls these sort of personifications, I guess, of the 7 deadly sins and their minions who are bringing the world closer to the apocalypse. And the other players are agents of this agency. I think it's called Faith. Who are like both humans and demons and things that have gone over to the side of humans, and people with telekinetic powers and things like that, who are working together against all these monstrosities. That's what all the other players control. Amazing looking miniatures, some of them very grotesque, but still very well done. I'm a Kingdom Death fan, so I'm okay with that. And I love the systems of the game, the format, putting the world building elements. There's some great looking expansions that are along with it, like the 4 Horsemen. It looks great. I mean, it looks like another solid hit from Cool Mini or Not. It's also from Eric Lang, who I like a lot of his games, so that has to be taken into account. And how can I not look forward to it? That is The Others 7 Sins, my number 6. My number 5 is Scythe from Stegmaier Games, and I could stop right there as far as the explanation as to why I'm anticipating that, because Stegmaier Games has such a good track record of solid games. All of their games are enjoyable to me. Some of them I've liked more than others, but they're all great, and Scythe looks to be no different from everything that I've seen. It has a fantastic theme of like an alternate universe, early 1900s Europe, where people with different factions are vying for power and have control of these steampunk mechs. And I don't even like steampunk very much, but the artwork and design, which are the things that people have noticed the most about this game, the artwork and the graphic design, just do such a fantastic job of bringing that theme out, together with the little storyline bits on all the different cards, the bits and pieces, the components themselves. It all looks good, and I'm very, very excited about it. Not the least of which because Jamey Stegmaier and his team over there just have a great grasp on how to make a good game. So that is Scythe from Stegmaier Games, my number 5. My number 4 is another catch-all category of expansions for the year, and of course, it's going to be on this list. The expansions for Kingdom Death Monster. If I have to pinpoint just one, it would be the Lantern Festival expansion, which is actually going to extend the campaign for Kingdom Death beyond Lantern Year 25. But all the expansions look great. The Dragon King, and even some of the smaller expansions like the Dung Beetle Knight and the Flower Knight and the Lion Knight. They all look really cool and add good gameplay elements to the game. And the only reason, Kingdom Death is my favorite game right now, period. And you might think, well, why wouldn't the expansion be number 1? And it's just because I want to highlight full games more than I want to highlight expansions. But nevertheless, I am very, very excited for all of this. More content for an already amazing game. More storyline elements, more things to happen, like story events, which is the bread and butter of Kingdom Death. Yes, I have to put more miniatures together. But man, they are exquisite miniatures, aren't they? So, you've heard me talk about Kingdom Death enough. It's a fantastic experience, and I can't wait to get more content for it. That is my number 4, all of the expansions for Kingdom Death Monster that hopefully will be released in 2016. My number 3 is Star Wars Rebellion. Man, the internet was, or at least the board gaming internet was crazy about this game when it was first announced. And I don't think that craziness has really subsided completely. People are just waiting with bated breath for it to be released, which should be very soon. I'm hoping it's in within the next month. But this is, Fantasy Flight Games has really taken that Star Wars license and just run with it, right? At the same day that hopefully this will be going up, you're going to see a review for the Return to Hoth expansion for Star Wars Imperial Assault. So they're still putting out new and great content for that, for their X-Wing miniatures line, for Armada, all these different games, but they still have room for one huge, big-ass board game. And this one is Rebellion, which people are saying it takes elements from Twilight Imperium and from Rune Wars. People have said this is Star Wars Rune Wars. And I played Rune Wars one time. I don't know about that so much, but Rebellion is all about one player. I think it's 2-player, or maybe you can do the whole team thing. But there's the Imperials, there's the Rebels, and you are vying for control of systems. It's no longer about just ground combat or one big battle like Queen's Gambit or the Star Wars Risk. This is a galaxy-wide vying for control of all these different planets. It has awesome-looking miniatures. There's 2 different Death Stars, the full Death Star and, of course, the half-blown-up one or the half-constructed one. And I don't know what else to say. It looks great. I am totally into Star Wars board gaming right now. I was never that huge of a Star Wars fan, but with the new movie coming out, and I hope Fantasy Flight does some board games for that, I would love to see another Queen's Gambit and Star Wars Risk type game for The Force Awakens. I think that would be amazing. So I don't know about that, but just the mere fact that there's been so much great content of any type for Star Wars right now has gotten me more and more into the universe. So that is Star Wars Rebellion. Can't wait. My number 2 was just announced a couple of weeks ago, and I've been salivating for it ever since, and that is Tyrants of the Underdark. This is a joint D&D board game being produced by Wizards of the Coast and Gale Force 9, who is a solid company that loves to make games, good games, or at least, loved by some people, games based on IP, and they've been doing a really good job with that for the past couple of years, and so I think that was a good choice for Wizards to partner up with them, and I'm so glad we even had a chance to play another big D&D board game. This one, on top of all that, is going to be, it looks very similar to Chaos in the Old World in some ways. It's asymmetric. Every player takes control of a different faction of Drow, the Dark Elves from the Forgotten Realms universe, and you're vying for control. You're summoning monsters. You're using agents. You're praying to the dark gods like Loth and all that. I mean, what? I'm so excited for this game. It just really, really looks amazing from what little we've seen, and just the idea of it. I'm a day one purchase for me. I really can't wait for it. I hope it lives up to all of its promise and potential, because I love that source material. The Dark Elves of the Forgotten Realms were some of the best. Even if you discount Drizzt altogether, I like that character, but even if you just focus on the Society of the Dark Elves, one of the most fascinating things about Dungeons & Dragons, and I hope it's represented well in Tyrants of the Underdark. My number 1, I was actually surprised to find out was not on my list last year, and I think I left it off last year because I think that Rob Daviau just said, I don't think I'm going to get to it this year. But hopefully this is the year where we finally get Seafall, which is a legacy-style game. This was actually announced before even Pandemic Legacy. It's been that long at this point, and I hope that with the success of Pandemic Legacy, it spurs him on to finish this project even faster. He's putting this out with Plaid Hat Games, which right then and there, you got to take notice, because Plaid Hat is such a good company and knows how to put out a quality product. At least it's going to have great production values, but the gameplay itself looks very interesting too. It's you and the other players take control of not really pirates, but you're seafaring ships, hence the name of the game, exploring this new section of this mystical world, and as you go along the map, you find new islands, and of course it's a legacy game, so you're permanently adjusting the game board and the game state. There's this whole system of how when you attack other players, they remember that, and they come back for vengeance later. I mean, everything about the game, just from what I've seen and heard, just looks amazing, sounds amazing. I want it now. I don't know why it's been delayed for so long, but if that delay means that the game is going to be even better, more fine-tuned, and remember that up until this point, the only area control type player versus player game of Legacy style that we've had is Risk Legacy, and while that was good, the Risk system itself is not good. So this is going to be the first time that we have a player versus player Legacy game that hopefully is based on a new system that hopefully is very, very good, that is potentially going to be a great game on top of the Legacy elements. And of course, again, Pandemic Legacy was so great that hopefully that trend continues. So that is Seafall from Plaid Hat Games. Hopefully it makes it out this year. All right, well, that's the list. Like I said, there's a lot of good stuff there, and there's even more stuff I didn't mention that I could have. It's going to be a great year, I think. Will it top this year? That's really tough. 2015 was an amazing year for games, but I certainly hope so. I would love for the market to continue to grow, and not just volume, but also quality. Before we go, let's go ahead and take a look at my top 10 from last year and see where they all ended up. These were the top 10 anticipated games for 2015 for moi. Number 10 was Conan. I'm still looking forward to Conan. That should be hopefully coming out within the first quarter of this year for Kickstarter backers. I don't know. I think that my campaign-style dungeon crawling needs have really been met in the past year, especially with Imperial Assault, so maybe I'm not as hyped on it, but it still looks great. I'm still looking forward to it. It would have been like my 11 to 15. Above and Below from Ryan Lockett and Red Raven Games. Great game. I really liked it even more than I thought that I would. It looks fantastic. It plays very well. It's a great gateway-level game, I would say. Maybe just a step above gateway, but still very, very good. I'm looking forward to playing that even more and more. Okay, Consequential from Asmodee Games. I have accused this game of being vaporware before. The designer and publisher said, no, it's fine. We're just waiting for a Kickstarter. Still nothing. Still no Kickstarter, still nothing. So if it hasn't even launched on Kickstarter yet, then I don't know. I don't know that it's ever going to happen. I still want it to happen. It's like a Legacy-style campaign story mode with anime themes. I'll believe it when I see it. I've had that game on list for like 3 years now. Xenoshift Onslaught from Cool Mini or Not. Great game. That was another game that totally met my expectations. Loved it. There was actually an expansion for it being kickstarted the first quarter of 2016. Starship Troopers, the deck building game. Spectre Ops from Plaid Hat Games. That was great. I love Spectre Ops. That made it into my top 100. A game from Emerson Matsuchi and his company Nazca Games partnering up with Plaid Hat. Looks great. Love the theme. One versus all deduction hidden roll. Apocrypha, the adventure card game. I just talked about that earlier on. It was on my list for this year, so it's not out quite yet. I didn't suspect, I think, that strongly it would make it in 2015, but I had hoped last year or back in March, so we'll see. And then we had Ascension, Dawn of Champions. My esteem of Ascension has really dwindled in the past 8 or 9 months since I did this list last, because I've just been I like the app, and it kind of eliminates the need for me to play the physical game, because the physical game is so incredibly random. But I will say that Dawn of Champions was a great expansion, so I'm not too ashamed that I have it on this list. Then we had Super Dungeon Explorer: The Forgotten King. Great expansion. It had improved rules, had great miniatures, new format and style. Really relaunched that entire game, and now we see that they're putting out a new edition of the base game that's going to have the rules and stuff that they added into Forgotten King, and that's for a good reason, because that was really, really good. The Big Book of Madness, that was really delayed. That was supposed to be out much earlier. I finally got my hands on it maybe about a month ago. Did a review for it, so you can check that out. Good game, not great. I was kind of disappointed with it, but I still thought it was a solid game, and it's still in my collection. And then, of course, it wasn't out yet at the time I did the last list, Kingdom Death Monster, and it's my number one game right now. So you can tell that all that anticipation was worth it, and I'm glad it was worth it, because it was a long wait, but it was totally worth it. I guess there's a lesson in there somewhere. So that is it. Thank you so much for watching. I can't wait for the new year. Take care. Thanks for watching. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Patreon. And make sure to check out our sponsor, Board Game Bliss, where you can find an amazing selection of games from around the world. BoardGameBliss.com. Thanks for your support.